Welcome back all. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the app component.ts file. The very first thing that we're going to do, however, will be to remove app component spec.ts. So go ahead and move that to a trash, but yep, delete. Just click on delete, move to trash. That's it. It caused some problems for me, so I figured I would just delete it because, well, we don't really need it for anything. There are some other files which we actually don't need for anything as well, but it doesn't matter. They're not causing any problems of whatsoever for us now. So, these two imports remain from the trial and error phase where the code was being tested out, so we're just gonna go ahead and remove that. I managed to copy them there by accident. Okay, down below, the only new import is the account service, and we know, and here is the path which we have created previously. And you have the injector, which has been explained as well previously, that is imported here as well. So if you scroll down, you will see that there's a new thing here. It says providers, account service. With this, we're basically telling Angular that we would like to use this service in our, well, this service in our class, and it will inject it immediately. So next up, we're going to go ahead and jump into the app component down below. So you have private accounts array, and this is a variable in which we shall place accounts after we have gotten them with our service in the constructor down below. However, this one and this one have nothing to do with one another, quite literally. Yes, they have the same name, but they're not in the same. This one is app component.ts. The other one is in the account services. Where is it? Account services.ts. So two different components. They have nothing to do with one another. They can have the same names. No big deal there. Anyway, next up, we have private accounts service. So this is just a variable in which we shall place the instance of our service after Angular injects it. So we'll see soon enough in the constructor that we will immediately utilize the two previously mentioned variables, the private accounts and private accounts services. Let me just separate this so you can see it a little bit better. And yep, that's one. So you have a constructor here, and I've already explained what a constructor is, but it's been a while, so let me just remind you. So a constructor is a special type of a method which is used for the initialization of a class, uh, creating it, that is. During the creating of this component, this entire component, the app component.ts, Angular will basically call this constructor. Let me just find the constructor. There we go. So Angular will basically call this constructor and it will inject account service. How does Angular know what to inject? Well, because we are telling it the parameter is of type account service. So this is just a parameter, keep in mind, the fact that it has a name account service. Yeah, you have a parameter account service and you have a type account service. So two very different things. We're telling it that the parameter is of type account service, so it knows what to inject. And then down below, what we're doing here is stating that the account service, which is the variable here, I mean, you have it right here. So account service, it's right here. So account service and account service. We are storing the account service into it. So this one is actually taking the initialized version of this one and storing it into itself. Why are we doing this? Well, first of all, Angular will know how to initialize this. So within the constructor, it knows because we have told it to inject this, and as I have stated before, once we tell it to inject, it knows what to do. It does things for us in the background. So whatever is contained within this parameter account service is unusable outside of this construct, as account service parameter does not exist outside of this construct. So we're effectively taking whatever is stored into the account service in the account service parameter and putting it in the underlying account service parameter, which is right here. And this one, underline account service, private variable, is outside of this constructor and it is usable elsewhere. It exists elsewhere. It exists outside of this constructor. So that's how we are able to utilize it. So we're just using the logic of the accounts services to initialize the account services variable. And then we're taking everything that's stored in it into our private variable underline account service, which we can use outside of this constructor. Now, the next line here, basically, here we will initialize basically the logic from the service and use the method get all to fetch the data and store it into the accounts variable. Very similar actions between these two. So down below you have this create account error string, which has been explained before, and this decorator you know from before, these two methods you know from before, but there is something different within them. Now we are using the logic from the account service in order to perform certain actions. So for example, it says this dot underline accounts service dot create. And then you have the parameter new account, but create is here. Let me just show it to you. Where is create? Here we go. I should separate this. So create is here, and it is logic. This method provides the logic for creating new accounts, while the app component.ts actually just calls the method and with its own method, and it uses that logic in order to basically manipulate the data, store the data, retrieve the data, and do whatever it wants with the data, whatever logic is within the services. So what the services part contains the logic. Here we just specify what we want to do and recycle the existing logic within the services. As you can see, we've used our own private variable here, which we have initialized with account service. Simple as that. So what I've just told you, and basically the same thing applies here, no difference. The remove is also in the services, should be down here. Yep, there we go. Oops, a mistake. So I know that it can be a little bit confusing. That is why. Oh god, I've deleted it. Oh well, I have it saved with the GitHub. It's not a big deal. Anyway, I'm done with the tutorial. I'm done with the tutorial in any case. What I wanted to tell you now, before I made this deletion mistake, is that these things can be a little bit complex to understand in terms of, perhaps not in a technical sense, but just in a logical sense. So that's why we are open, and you can write to us, you can post in the discussion section, and we'll be more than happy to explain anything that you might find unclear. Anyway, gonna bid you farewell here and hope to see you in the follow-up tutorial.